About a year ago, I moved to the capital city of Salvador alone to study, and I met some friends in the first months here. I went to the beach about 3 or 4 times before this incident. I'll give you context. I have a 2011 Corolla, which isn't a fast car, and sometimes I get stranded in the street. The beach is like 20 miles away. The highway isn't in the best condition, but even with this country being as dangerous as it is, this road is really safe. Well, we packed our things and get in on the road. It was about the half of the way, 10:30 p.m., and I saw a car next to the road. May have had a flat tire. I think twice before helping because vehicle theft is known in this way, but I helped them. I stopped and saw this bearded fat guy, about 30 or 35 years old. He is obviously drunk, and he tells me that he has a flat tire, that he cannot change it by himself. He tells me his friends do not know that he left the beach. He needs to go home, and that his spare tire is in the back of the car. He accompanies me to open it, and before I know it, he hits me very hard on the head. The blow pushes me towards the street, and another man appears out of the bushes with a naked torso and a machete. I move around the car and quickly analyze the situation. None of my friends know that I stopped on the street. My phone is in the car. I am completely incommunicado. Both men are very drunk, but I am afraid that they could still attack me as I am completely helpless. I start walking around the car, with them watching me and trying to surround me. When I have a clear view of my car and the bearded man is on that side, I run towards my car and start it as fast as I can to shoot off down the road. I hear a shot, but I have no intention of looking back. I call the police, and as expected, they just tell me not to walk through the area at that time because there were similar calls that week. I didn't travel alone in that area again, but unfortunately I can't stop helping good travelers. I had a friend who lived a few streets over in the same neighborhood. One night, we were hanging out in his backyard, having a couple of beers and playing cards. I had some things to do the next morning, so just before 10, I said my goodbyes and headed home. The walk back was short, maybe about 15 minutes, door to door, so I never bothered driving. It was a pleasant night, nothing out of the ordinary. However, when I arrived home, my roommate was stepping out the front door with a cup of coffee in hand, dressed for work. He gave me a puzzled look and mentioned that he thought I was still asleep since my truck was in the driveway. I explained where I had been and asked why he was leaving for work so late at night. He chuckled and asked if I had been drinking. We stared at each other for a moment, and then he informed me that it was just after 5 in the morning and he was heading to work as usual. In that moment, I was utterly bewildered. Despite my certainty that I had just left my friend's house, my roommate's serious demeanor suggested otherwise. I glanced at my phone, confirming that it was indeed 5-something in the a.m. My roommate departed for work, leaving me to pace the living room in a state of confusion. Eventually, I called the friend whose house I had left earlier. He answered groggily and confirmed that I had departed at 10 the previous evening. To this day, I remain haunted by the mystery of those 7 lost hours. I wasn't intoxicated, nor was I fatigued. No one could have tampered with the 2 Coors Lights I had consumed. I had no known medical conditions that would cause such a blackout, and nothing similar has occurred since. The inexplicable nature of that lost time continues to send shivers down my spine, even years later. The unsettling uncertainty of not knowing what transpired during those hours lingers, a perplexing enigma that defies explanation. One night during my graveyard shift, I was assisting another understaffed store across town. A woman entered the store, appearing slightly frazzled and carrying a Bible, but otherwise seeming normal. After purchasing some chips, she engaged me in conversation about the ongoing pandemic, then abruptly shifted topics to claim she had eaten a clove of garlic that was actually an evil spirit in disguise. Initially, I dismissed her words as a joke, but she proceeded to produce a piece of garlic, insisting it was a demonic entity attempting to possess her. She questioned me about my beliefs regarding spirits and whether I could perceive them. According to her, despite appearing human, I supposedly possessed angelic qualities and was sent to Earth to aid her in banishing evil spirits. She left the garlic on the counter, declaring she would wait for me to address it. That encounter concluded without further incident. However, a few days later, around 2 or 2:15 in the morning on a Tuesday, while working my usual graveyard shift at my regular store, the same woman reappeared. This time, she simply purchased some candy and engaged in casual conversation about jade jewelry and incense, without any mention of supernatural beings. What struck me as odd was that I hadn't noticed her enter the store. We have a loud alarm that activates whenever the doors open and only deactivates when they close. Considering I had been present at the front of the store, stocking and cleaning, and had only encountered a couple of customers prior, it seemed peculiar. The woman lingered for a while, then abruptly excused herself to use the restroom. Strangely, she didn't emerge until around 6 a.m., bid me farewell, and left the store without any indication of her previous unusual behavior. This left me unsettled, as I had cleaned the restrooms shortly after she entered. Yet somehow she had managed to slip away or conceal herself during that time, leaving me to ponder the eerie encounter. Once, during a late shift at the restaurant where I worked, I found myself leaving around the stroke of midnight. As was my routine, I embarked on my journey home via bicycle, a trusty companion that faithfully carried me along the familiar bike trail adjacent to the train tracks. The route stretched for about 15 minutes, offering a straight path with occasional exits veering off into neighboring streets. However, the illumination along this trail was sporadic at best, relying mainly on a scattering of streetlights that cast feeble glows amidst the encompassing darkness. Without the guiding beam of my front bicycle light, the path ahead would have been shrouded in obscurity, rendering navigation perilous at best. On this particular night, as I pedaled my way homeward, a sense of unease began to creep over me like tendrils of mist swirling in the chill night air. Glancing behind, I noticed the faint silhouette of another cyclist trailing in my wake. While encountering fellow travelers along this nocturnal path was not unheard of, the absence of any discernible lights on the stranger's bike struck me as peculiar. Nonetheless, I dismissed the initial twinge of apprehension, chalking it up to the quirks of urban cycling at odd hours. Yet, as I continued along the trail, the presence of this unidentified cyclist persisted, their shadowy figure maintaining a steady distance behind me. Unease gnawed at the edges of my consciousness, prompting me to ponder the possibility of being followed. With each passing minute, the sensation of being watched intensified, casting a pall over what should have been an uneventful journey home. With a growing sense of disquiet, I made a conscious decision to test the waters, slowing my pace in an attempt to allow the mysterious cyclist to overtake me. However, much to my dismay, the individual remained steadfast in their position, neither drawing closer nor falling behind. A chill ran down my spine as the realization dawned upon me that I was not merely imagining things. I was being trailed with intent. Fueled by a mix of fear and adrenaline, I concocted a plan to shake off my pursuer, opting to take a series of erratic turns through the labyrinthine streets of a nearby suburb. With each twist and turn, I hoped to lose them amidst the maze of residential roads, Yet to my dismay, the shadowy presence persisted, doggedly maintaining its pursuit. Desperation mounting, I found myself hurtling towards a dimly lit path reserved exclusively for cyclists, its length stretching ominously into the murky depths of the night. With no viable alternative in sight, I resolved to take my chances and pressed on, the rhythmic whirring of my bicycle wheels echoing like a solemn dirge in the silence of the night. As I ventured deeper into the confines of this desolate thoroughfare, a sense of foreboding enveloped me like a suffocating cloak, each shadowy alcove and obscured corner a potential harbinger of impending doom. Heart pounding in my chest, I forged ahead, acutely aware of the sinister presence trailing behind me like a specter haunting the recesses of my consciousness. It was then, in a moment of desperate resolve, that I veered off the path and sought refuge within the confines of a nearby residence, seeking sanctuary amidst the comforting embrace of darkness. Concealed within the shadows of the garage, I awaited with bated breath as the ominous silhouette of my pursuer passed by, the sound of their presence fading into the night like a whispered secret carried away on the wind. Minutes stretched into eternity as I remained ensconced within my clandestine sanctuary, every nerve in my body poised on edge, straining for the faintest hint of danger. Gradually, the oppressive silence of the night yielded to the reassuring sounds of solitude, signaling the departure of my unseen adversary. Emerging from my hiding place with cautious trepidation, I mounted my bicycle once more, the weight of uncertainty pressing heavily upon my shoulders as I embarked on the final leg of my journey homeward. With each pedal stroke, I found myself casting furtive glances over my shoulder, half expecting to find the specter of my pursuer lurking in the shadows, yet finding only the empty expanse of the deserted streets staring back at me. As I neared the familiar confines of home, a wave of relief washed over me, mingled with a lingering sense of disquiet at the unanswered questions that lingered in the wake of my harrowing ordeal. Who was the mysterious cyclist that had trailed me through the labyrinthine streets of the night? And what sinister purpose lay behind their relentless pursuit? It was a question that would haunt my thoughts in the days and nights that followed. A chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked beyond the comforting facade of familiarity. Thank you for watching. If you found these stories gripping, don't forget to subscribe for more spine-tingling content. For another hair-raising tale, check out our suggested video. And if you're hungry for more eerie encounters, dive into our playlist featuring similar chilling narratives.